Hello everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the award-winning show, Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. As November approaches, Berkshire County is in a weird place with their COVID-19 cases, with a slight uptick despite an increase in vaccinated citizens. This has led some arts and entertainment companies to make huge changes in their mask and vaccine mandate stances. On this week's episode, I'll be talking about some of the art exhibits and concerts going on, as well as a movie that recently went on demand, Free Guy. First, it's time for this week's trivia question, which will be answered at the end of a segment discussing children's authors. This week's question is, which author has been awarded the most Caldecott medals for illustrations in a children's book? Now, for this week's local headlines. First, an update on the state of Massachusetts. Masks are still required in schools and most public places. However, the major change for this episode is a new vaccine requirement for visiting certain arts and entertainment facilities. For example, both Mass MOCA at North Adams and the Clark Art Museum in Williamstown are now requiring all visitors over the age of 12 to show proof of vaccination, either with a photo or hard copy of your vaccine card. A negative COVID test will no longer apply. Those under 12 must be accompanied by an adult who has been vaccinated. In an interview, Mass MOCA Deputy Director Tracy Moore stated, quote, "We're committed to maintaining safe and healthy conditions as we approach the winter months and start to spend more time indoors," end quote. Stay tuned to WWHEN for further updates on mask and vaccine mandates. Now, for an update on community grants received by local businesses. The Lee Bank Foundation has awarded over $40,000 to 9 Berkshire area organizations. This marks the third round of community grants in 2021. Recipients were awarded grants ranging from $1,000 to $13,500, although exact grant prices were not announced. Here is a list of the organizations that received the grants in alphabetical order. They are the Alliance for a Viable Future, Berkshire Area Health Education Center, the Berkshire Innovation Center, Berkshire Museum, Berkshire Pulse, Community Development Corporation of Southern Berkshire, Extra Specialties, Goodwill Industries of the Berkshires and Southern Vermont, and Shakespeare and Company. In addition, Arts Access Grants, which are separate, of $1,000, were awarded to both Berkshire Pulse and Shakespeare and Company. To date, the Lee Bank Foundation has received over 75 grant applications for its first 3 rounds of funding. The deadline for the final round of 2021 foundation funding is December 1st. For more information on what the grants are used for, visit the website shown here. Our next story is a new art exhibit at the Clark Art Museum. Clark Art will be airing Competing Currents. This exhibition explores two different styles of Japanese printmaking movements and how one was born out of the other. The first is called Shin Hanga, or new prints. These were created through a collaborative process where work was divided among the artist, carver, painter, and publisher. This work is the more collaborative of the two. The other collection being highlighted is Sozaku Hanga, or creative prints. This work emphasizes individualism and self-expression. In fact, Sozaku Hanga comes directly from the Shin Hanga's popularity. The two exhibits provide a great example for individualism versus teamwork. Clark Art Competing Currents is on display from now until January 30th. It is open on Tuesdays through Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., but will be closed on Thanksgiving. Also, until November 12th, certain collection galleries at the Clark Art Museum will be temporarily unavailable for viewing due to renovation work. During this period, Clark's regular admission price will be reduced. Clark Art is free for members, anyone 21 or under, and students with a valid ID. Anyone else should check clarkart.edu for more information. Masks, of course, are required regardless of vaccination status. In our next story, we will be continuing our art exhibits with a stop at Mass MOCA in North Adams. A new exhibit titled Yito Barada, Ways to Baffle the Mind, will open in mid-November. In this exhibit, French-Moroccan artist Yito Barada will be highlighting her 3D work through textile, sculpture, films, and games, which are assembled to model, parody, and learn from attempts to regulate and organize nature. This is a collaboration between Mass MOCA and the Rivers Institute for Contemporary Art and Thought in New Orleans, as well as foregrounds from Barada's film, Tree Identification for Beginners, which was also researched and filmed in New Orleans. Yito Barada, Ways to Baffle the Wind, will be opening on December 20th. To purchase your tickets, visit massmoca.org and click on Visit. As stated earlier on WWHEN, proof of vaccination is now required for anyone over 12. Tickets are non-refundable. With fall here and winter approaching, one of the most popular activities to do is go on outdoor walks. One that debuted last year and was a huge hit despite the pandemic is Nightwood at the Edith Wharton Mount in Lenox. Nightwood is an outdoor sound and light experience that is set against the backdrop of the Mount. Even though this event was affected by the pandemic, it still proved to be a big success. According to its website, it is, quote, an ethereal winter landscape that immerses visitors in sound, light, and color. Inspired by the Mount's unique architecture, landscape, and history, Nightwood utilizes original music, lighting, and sculptural elements to create different experiences of space and place throughout the property, end quote. The total route is approximately 3/4 of a mile through the woods and gardens, and includes both paved and unpaved pathways, inclines, and stairs. Nightwood at Edith Wharton Mount will be taking place from November 4th through December 31st. It will be closed on Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day. Trails may be muddy or icy at times, so winter boots are strongly recommended. Tickets are extremely limited and are selling fast. Visit www.edithwharton.org to purchase your tickets. They are non-refundable. In compliance with their local health department's regulations, face coverings and/or masks at Nightwood are required at all times. Our next story is of a rock concert at the Berkshire Theatre Group in Pittsfield. Legendary Boston rock band, the Stompers, will be making their first Berkshire County appearance in decades when they hit the Colonial Theatre stage in Pittsfield. The Stompers were formed in East Boston in 1977 and quickly became one of Boston's most popular bands. Their incredible live performances and high-energy rock and roll shows began to spread. In the coming years, they performed at almost every college, roadhouse, nightclub, and concert hall in New England. This led to them being picked up by major music labels, but they always remained loyal to their Massachusetts roots. In 2017, they celebrated their 40th anniversary and were inducted into the Boston Music Hall of Fame. Their songs still sound amazing after all these years, and their trip to the Berkshires is widely anticipated. The Stompers will be performing at the Colonial Theatre on 111 South Street in Pittsfield on Saturday, November 13th. The concert is scheduled to start at 8 p.m. Tickets can only be purchased at www.berkshiretheatregroup.org. Berkshire Theatre Group is now a vaccinated-only location. Proof of vaccination is now required, and a negative COVID test is no longer acceptable. Patrons may present a photograph or physical vaccination card upon arrival to the concert. Berkshire Theatre Group's sponsors include Market 32, Pittsfield Cooperative Bank, Classical Tents, Milltown Capital, and the Marketplace Cafe. This next story is of great interest for families or the young art lovers at heart. The Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge will be presenting the work of famed children's author Jan Brett with an exhibit titled Stories Near and Far. Brett has written and illustrated over 50 books in her lifetime and has over 42 million books in print. Some of her works include The Mitten and Trouble with Trolls, as shown here. She lives in Norwell, Massachusetts, but during the summer, Jan Brett and her family rent a home in the Berkshire Hills, which is also featured prominently in some of Brett's work. Stories Near and Far features more than 100 original illustrations, sketches, and personal artifacts, and explores the range of Brett's art and the travel experiences that have inspired both her books and characters over the past 25 years. In particular, Brett's global perspective will be highlighted. Her travels have taken her from Arctic Sweden to Namibia, and from Costa Rica to China. Many of the places she has visited have also been incorporated into her work, but other objects will be displayed to the public for the first time. Jan Brett, Stories Near and Far, will be on display at the Norman Rockwell Museum from November 13th until March 6th. The museum is currently open Thursdays through Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets can be purchased by visiting nrm.org. The museum is only doing the tickets in timed visits. Also, by visiting nrm.org, you can check the museum's mask policies. Speaking of children's authors, it's now time for the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, this week's question was, which author has been awarded the most Caldecott medals for illustrations in a children's book? The answer is Marsha Brown. First, a discussion on the Caldecott Medal. The award, according to its website, quote, annually recognizes the most distinguished American picture book for children, end quote. The medal has been given out every year since 1938, even during World War II years and the pandemic, as books were still popular regardless of whatever world event happened. As for Marsha Brown, the late author won it 3 times. 1955's Cinderella, 1962's Once a Mouse, and 1983's Shadow. Furthermore, she was a finalist for the award 6 other times. It's now time for this week's movie portion of WWHEN. This week, we are discussing the sci-fi action comedy Free Guy, currently on demand everywhere. Free Guy's plot is a little confusing. It tells the story of Guy, a non-player character in a video game called Free City. Guy's world changes when he falls in love with a character named Molotov Girl, who in reality is a game developer named Millie. Millie helped develop the AI of Free City. Her character of Molotov Girl, and consequently Millie herself, starts to fall in love with Guy. And Guy starts to believe that there is something more to life than his boring job of being a bank teller. When the story of Guy becomes popular in the real world, evil CEO Antoine can't handle Guy's glory and threatens to shut down the game. Can Guy save his life, get the girl, and become more than a non-playable character? So what did I think of Free Guy? Being a person who is into video games, I loved how it incorporated how the creation of a video game works. I also enjoyed the performances. Ryan Reynolds is one of those actors who always makes you interested in his work. He's great as the naive guy who wants to do something better in his life. Also, Jodie Comer is great as both the action leader of Molotov Girl and the game developer Millie. The movie does get a little video game lingo heavy at times, which wasn't a problem for me, but may be a problem for those not versed in video game language. Still, like many great video games and movies about video games, there are plenty of Easter eggs to go around. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, I give Free Guy an 8.5. It's got great action scenes, moments of pure hilarity, and a solid romance story. The video game references may not be everyone's cup of tea, however. That ends this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. If you would like to watch this or any other WWHEN episode again, you can visit Pittsfield TV's and CTSB's websites shown here, or visit NBCTC's Facebook page by typing in Northern Berkshire Community Television on your Facebook feed, as NBCTC is currently updating their website. Also, if you would like to see the episodes in HD quality, make sure to check out my YouTube page at RT Wehry. Thank you.